Hi, welcome to another episode of Aviation Talk with Captain Gaff. Thank you, Captain, very much for joining us here.
You're welcome.
All right. So, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, since I'm retired now from airline flying, I could introduce myself as the oldest pilot who's actively flying and trying to promote general aviation and light aircraft aviation in Sri Lanka.
All right, that's amazing. So, being the oldest pilot who's functional, okay, what made you choose aviation? How did you enter into this industry?
I think it all started when we were very young. My parents used to take us to air shows and we used to go and watch aeroplanes. And that made it interesting, and that sparked off the interest. And in addition to that, I must say that my grandmother lived in Moratuwa, and we used to come in the evening in our night clothes to see the grandmother. And on our way back, my father used to stop at the airport when he used to see the rotating beacon.
Yeah.
And then we used to stop and watch the old DC-3s coming into land.
All right.
This would have been in the late 50s, perhaps.
So that's an amazing start. So being your oldest pilot, okay, coming and seeing your grandmother and then, noticing the beacon light, okay. So how has the industry changed from your perspective, from the time you started to now, and then, with the current situation?
Well, things have got more modern, and there are safer and more efficient airplanes to learn flying in. At the time we learned flying, I started on the Tiger Mup, and then there was upgrade into the Chipmunk, and then other airplanes as we went along. But with the newer airplanes from the US and UK, we've been able to give a better and a safer airplane to children to learn to fly. And unfortunately, as you know, the industry has not really got off the ground. Although there's potential, we've been always taking the back seat in most of the things.
Yes. Okay. So, sir, being one of the oldest pilot, flying for us for a very long time, how has it been managing your personal life and then, your professional life being in the aviation industry?
I must say that the personal life, for me, aviation was everything. So there was no problem as long as you were around airplanes. But for the rest of the family, my children and my wife, it was quite a trying task, and my wife had to be the driver, the maid, and everything, look after the children and do all that while I was out flying. And as a result, you missed out on weddings, funerals, and whatever.
Yes, definitely. Being in the industry, that is something that, we should sacrifice, I guess.
Yeah, that was a sacrifice you had to make, and we thought it was an essential sacrifice.
So with all the sacrifices that you have done, and then, with the strong support from your family to manage your professional career, what would you say is the most memorable moment in the industry?
Well, there are many memorable moments which have gone back into the subconscious mind, but I would think that the most memorable, one of the most memorable incidents was the day of the 9/11, when I had to fly from Seoul, Korea to San Francisco, and mid-Pacific we were told that we could not go into USA, and then we had to fly to Vancouver instead. Stayed 2 days in Vancouver, and then we were the first foreign airline to go, as in Singapore Airlines, to fly into San Francisco. And that was a memorable experience. From the local point of view, the most memorable experience I had was when I had Mr. Anton Balasingham and his wife Adele on board my flight, and I refused to carry them.
Okay, if you don't mind me asking, any reason why you refused to carry them?
Because there was a hijacking incident in Cyprus.
Okay.
Of a ship called Aquilo Laro, and the hijackers wanted safe passage to Tunisia. When they were flying, while they were hijacked, they actually killed an American passenger So the CIA was after these hijackers, and they were given passage to go to Tunis in an, I think it was the Egypt aircraft, and they were with other passengers when CIA intercepted this airplane and got it to land in Crete. So the International Federation of Airline Pilots Associations informed all their members all over the world not to carry known terrorists on board with other passengers, that they must be either accommodated on a special flight or they must not be carried out. That was the reason why I had to refuse. And then I got a message from the then president, Mr. Premadasa, saying to consider carrying them. So that's what we did eventually. We found that they had a radio which had to be deactivated. He could speak from Colombo to Jaffna without any. So all those things had to be deactivated before we took them on.
All right, Captain. So we were talking about the most memorable moment, okay? And then when it comes to the biggest challenge, what was the biggest challenge that you faced in the industry?
In the industry, I would talk about the challenges we had as active members in the Airline Pilots Association, which was called the Airline Pilots Guild, which within the guild to get people to realize that unless we get things moving, no one else will help us. And to do anything, we needed to have money.
Yeah.
So it was a great challenge to get our members to pay 1% of their salary as fees for the association. So we achieved that.
Yeah.
And as a result, today the Airline Pilots Guild of Sri Lanka is on a very strong financial footing. They have their own office. And I think that was the greatest challenge we had, to try and put ourselves in a stronger position, because usually you get let down by all the administrators of the country.
Yeah. All right. So, Captain, we were talking about, your biggest achievements, okay, and some of the biggest challenges. And then if you talk about the industry as of now, okay, with the current situation that we are just undergoing, and then, finishing up, I guess, the coronavirus, what is, in your opinion, how has it affected the industry? And then, in your opinion, what can be done to, make sure that we step out of this as soon as possible?
Yes, the main thing is international flying is now at a standstill. So what we have to do really is to improve our domestic aviation in Sri Lanka, and I think the government has the same view, because they want to popularize general aviation and get people to fly. There are 16 airports in Sri Lanka, and those 16, actually, if you have competitive prices with taxi fares and whatnot, and have multimodal transport where actually you can fly the person to the airport, and then from there he can take a bus or a train and go to his destination, that would generally help. And the whole purpose should have been to have a bottom heavy domestic setup, which will allow the when the international airlines start, they can take the resources of engineers and pilots and what have you, all the people who have been exposed to modern technology, into the international flying. It is just a matter of finding a proper, in my opinion, it's a matter of finding a proper inoculation or something to prevent this pandemic, and then we will get back to normal operations. But for that, to jump back into that, you must have a bottom heavy system where we can take the resources from, not just wait and just do nothing about it. And just as a matter of interest, the Australians in 1950s, when they got involved, Australian National Airways, when they got involved with Air Ceylon, that's what they attempted to do from this airport. They had a small third-level airline, which they were flying airplanes to Ampare, Anuradhapura, Batticaloa, Jaffna and other airports. so that people actually were using domestic aviation for their work.
All right, amazing, Captain. So that is a very broad area that you covered. So talking about the current situation, okay, and then the future, what would you say that, what are your plans, and then anything that you want to add on to the industry with all the years of experience that you have?
What we are trying to bring back is all the international exposure that we have had in other countries. Our administrators find it difficult to believe various things that we tell them about our experiences when they come. And when it comes to domestic flying, we can apply most of the what we have learned from other countries to our domestic flying industry. But unfortunately, the administrators have not been exposed to the same level of technology that we have been exposed to. So therefore, they are unable to comprehend. I mean, that's a sad truth. So as a result, that's why we have formed ourselves into this association of owners and operators, so that we can get the administrators to think differently. For instance, this aeroplane that is there, the tires are made in USA.
Yeah.
Why can't we make the tires here in Sri Lanka? There are good tire manufacturing companies. If somebody has to take the first step, there are many things that we can learn. When you bring it from US, the tire, because it's rubber, and Sri Lanka manufactures rubber goods, they charge you an arm and a leg for this sort of spares, you see. So we are actually, the schools are having a big problem in trying to get spares from other countries, because we try to ape what is there in the West and not really think of, I think that is what the country is now thinking of, doing our own thing.
All right, amazing, Captain. So then, with all the experience that you are just sharing with me, okay, I have a question to ask you. What do you think about the aviation industry in Sri Lanka, from your opinion? Being one of the oldest pilots that we have, flying for us for so many years, what would you say?
It has a tremendous potential. Unfortunately, the people who are in the know are not being made use of to get this thing going off the ground, and people who have the knowledge and experience and the attitude are not being made use of. I think that's the message we would like to give from the Association of Operators and Owners, because these people who think that they know aviation really don't know much.
All right, Captain. So talking about, coming from your experience again, and then being in an association of airline owners and operators, what would you like to say to the budding aviators who are interested in joining this field, but then, the message they hear is that they don't have jobs, they do not have a career path. There's so many problems that they hear. They do not see a clear solution. What would you say from your opinion to them?
In aviation, many are called, but only a few are chosen. That is because we try and get the best of the best.
Yes.
But on the other hand, if a person is interested, a boy or a girl is interested in doing an aviation career, don't give up. The main thing is be at it. Because if we get our way, we will try and put this all right, and we will find the opportunities will come, especially if tourism is back to normal, to connect from the international airports to various destinations. They will have to use general aviation, and those aviators will also be as experienced as the airline pilots. And then when it comes to airline flying, we could use that experience to so the industry will be actually benefiting from these boys and girls who will be working as engineers, communications officers, dispatchers, and various jobs in the aviation field here. Just to give you one example, when Air Lanka started, they all said, why do we need an international airline in Sri Lanka then? Because it's an expense and we are wasting a lot of money. But in 1981, all the people in the Abu Dhabi airport were all Sri Lankans. And they were there because in 79 they were exposed to the best of the best technology from Singapore Airlines and all that, and they were able to go and work anywhere in the Middle East, so we have to expose our people to that sort of technology.
All right, Captain. So that was an amazing brief idea for the budding aviators. So from Aviation Talk, I would like to thank you once again for
You're welcome.
accepting our invitation and joining us and sharing all the knowledge to all the youngsters.